guys. I know I am not there, but we're going to go ahead and start our lesson for math today. It's a little different, obviously, because this is virtual and you're not here. You're in art right now while I'm doing this. So I'm going to try and make this as easy to see as possible, but we're getting ready to start a brand new introduction skill. So our first skill is going to be this introducing powers of 10. So this is going to be multiplying by tens and with exponents. So we've been talking about, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The exponent is that excuse. That's the second thing you do after parentheses. So we kind of ask ourselves, what is an exponent? An exponent's right here. It's made up of two pieces, two different things make it an exponent. First thing that you have is what's called the base, and then the actual exponential. No. All right. The base is a number that's bigger. It's kind of the number on the bottom. So if we're doing this, I'm going to try and make it nice and big. Your base to start with is going to be a 10. Okay, that's your base. The next number that we're going to talk about is the exponent. That's how many times you're going to multiply 10 by itself. So if we have 10 to the third, so that's the 3, that's your exponent. This is actually saying 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 times 10. This 3 tells you how many times you're going to multiply the 10. Here's the trick. All you have to do is then add and count zeros. So if you know you're going to multiply 10 times 10 times 10, you've got 1, 2, 3. So your answer is going to have 3 zeros. It's going to have the 1 right here, and then 1, 2, 3. So 10 to the third is the same as 1,000. 10 to the third is the same as 1,000, which is the same as 10 times 10 times 10. So you want to kind of make sure that you're paying attention to the idea that the zeros are really important in how you're counting different things that you're going to be doing. So let's look at another example. This time, we're going to try and figure out what the exponent would be. So if we have a number, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 10,000 right here. So 10,000 is going to give us what we need. So we're going to count our zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going by 10, so it's going to be 10 to the power of 4. Right here is our power of 4. So that's also our multiplication is going to be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10 to the power of 4, or 10,000. All right. The next piece, the next kind of way to look at this one would be if I said, what is 10 times 10? Well, again, we can do, there's 2 10, so it's 10 to the power of 2. And that 2 tells us we're going to have 2 zeros after our 1. So 1, 1, 2. So 10 to the power of 2 is the same as 100, which is the same as 10 times 10. So that's kind of our base with exponents of powers of 10. Now we can take this and take a really big number and break it down into some exponents. So kind of think about it this way. We're going to think about, let me slide back over to the screen. So this is you're going to get a paper just like this, and I've added the different pieces of how you're going to fill it in when you get done with this. All right. So you might have a 10 to the power of 5. Then you're going to put 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 5 times, and then 1 with 5 zeros. This is the beginning of the next worksheet you're going to get in just a second. The next one, if you see here, is different. This one says 3 times 10 to the power of 2. So we're going to take 3 times whatever 10 to the power of 2 is. So we have to figure out what is 10 to the power of 2. So let's write what the problem was. 3 times 10 to the power of 2. Our first thing that we can figure out is what is 10 to the power of 2. So we're going to think in our head, well, I know it's going to be 1 with 2 zeros. So now 3 times our 1 with 2 zeros. And this should look familiar from Splash Learn. This builds on what we've been doing. So we can say, what is 3 times 1? Anytime times 1 is itself, 3. And then we can just slide those 2 zeros over. So 300. So 3 times 10 to the power of 2 is 300. So now we're going to look at this huge number right here. It's 65 million. That's a big number, okay? So when we do 65 million and we want to go the other way, put it up here. So 65, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now, how many zeros do we see there? I just counted when I was doing it to make sure I added the right one. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not counting the 65. That's what I'm going to multiply by because that's my digits there. So I'm going to take 65 times 10 to the power of, how many did we have? 6. 65 times 10 to the power of 6. 65 times 10 to the power of 6. Which, if I needed to write this out, would be 65 times my 1 and then 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I know, based on what we've learned, I'm going to take 1 times 65. Anything times 1 is itself. So yay, 65. And then we're just going to take all of these zeros right here and slide it behind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these numbers equal each other right here. All of those are the same numbers. All right, let's take a look let's do a couple more real quick. This is just the introduction, so I don't expect you guys to have this completely mastered and get this completely, but I do want you to start thinking about the powers of 10, because that's really where this is going to take big numbers and make them written smaller. So let's say we had 34 times 10 to the power of, let's say 4. What we can do here, there's 2 steps. You can say, well, I know that 10 to the power of 4 is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So there's my 4 zeros. So 34 times the 1 slides down and 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 34 times 1 slides over. And then we're just going to take these 4 zeros and stick it behind there. 3, 4. So 34 times 10 to the power of 4 is actually 340,000. Just a different way to write numbers that we already know. Let's do one more where we're going from a big number and we're putting it with an exponent. So let's do, why do I like 3 so much today? Let's do 7, 2, 1. So I'm going to look at my number and realize, okay, 72 is what I'm going to multiply my power of 10 by. So this piece is what we're going to use to multiply. So 72 times, and now I know it's going to be a power of 10. So how many zeros did I have? I'm just going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be my answer. 72 times 10 to the power of 5. That's what I'm looking for there. 72 times 10 to the power of 5. All right, you're getting ready to get 2 worksheets. There's front and back on each. You're going to turn these in to me. The first worksheet is all about, I've crossed off the bottom section. You're welcome. You don't have to do it. But I've given you, it's all on these powers of 10s. You're going to turn that sheet over, and it's going to be, again, on expanded notation. So remember, that's unfortunately what pops into my brain is that's when you have a number and you explode it into all of those different pieces. We had those 3 ways that we talked about. Those 3 ways are fine. That's all I'm looking for today, I believe. So, I'm going to do one more example of what I'm really looking for. Sorry, I just looked at the book. Let's take a big number, and we're going to show it in expanded notation in 3 ways, which is what your worksheet's going to ask you to do. So let's take a nice big number. Let's take 7,286. Okay? So step 1 is just going to ask you to take it down based on what those numbers are. So what is the 7? Well, that 7 is in the place value of 7,000. If you're still struggling, you may get out your place value chart when we do this and write it down, and that can help you. my example is still up on the board. You're welcome to come look at that. All right, so this is 7,000. That's plus that 2 we know is worth 200, plus 8 is actually 80, plus 6. That's the first way it wants you to do it. The second way that they're going to ask you to do it is with parentheses. So that's going to be 7 times what will give us 7,000? 7 times 1,000, close our parentheses, plus 2 times what's going to give us 200? 2 times 100, plus 8 times what's going to give us 80? 10. And then 6 times 1. So that's the second way. So now we've gone our big number, we've taken it into their place value, we've taken it down now to this step. The next step is to put these numbers here in exponential notation. So your 7's still going to drop down. This is going to become 7 times 10 to the power of what? This is where we count. A lot of counting today. 1, 2, 3. So 7 times 10 to the power of 3. Close it. Plus 2 times 10 to the power of 1, 2. 10 to the power of 2. That's our exponent. Then we're going to do 8 times 10 to the power of, well, there's only 1 0 there. So it's going to be 1, just like that. And our last one is plus 6 times 10 to the power of, are there any zeros? Nope. So you have 0. 0. This is the expanded form they're going to ask you to do on page 42. And then it's going to have you do a couple more problems where you're turning them into different things. You can watch this video as many times as you want. Come back to this screen when you get to page 42. If you get stuck, you can kind of go back and forth and just listen to this section. The next paper you're going to get is volume. You need to work on length times width times height. And then you've got some math boxes you need to do. I have assigned some Prodigy questions for you guys to finish. I believe there are 12. You have to Friday. So if you get done with everything, then slide over to Prodigy. Thanks, guys.